By virtue of the authority vested in me by the laws of the Province of Ontario, and in accordance with the recommendation of the Senate of the University of Windsor, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humanities, honoris causa, with all the rights, privileges, honors here and elsewhere thereto appertaining. Congratulations, Greg. It's now my privilege to ask Dr. Kielburger to address convocation.
Chancellor Lumley, President Waldman, Dr. Stanley, honored guests, family, friends, and of course, graduates. It's an honor and a privilege to join you in celebrating the graduating class of 2009 of the University of Windsor. And as you might imagine, I don't often begin a speech by quoting the words of former US President George W. Bush, but standing before his own alma mater at Yale University, he once said, "To those who finished with straight A's, congratulations, I'm sure you'll go on to do great things. And to those of you who finished with a C- average, perhaps you too will become President of the United States." But I'm sure regardless of whatever mark you ascertained, you worked extremely hard to be here today. Many late nights, perhaps a few all-nighters, perhaps even more than a few. But as we all know that as you celebrate today, this is a shared victory with family and friends, significant others, supporters, mentors, and guides over many years to ensure that you're in these seats here today. So graduates, I ask you to please join in celebrating and looking around at all the faces of the individuals who are with you today to recognize parents, friends, and family with a round of applause for their support. On a personal note, this honor carries a particular meaning to my family, as my mother, Teresa Kielburger, who's with us here today, is a graduate of the University of Windsor, as is my aunt, as is my uncle. In fact, my entire family comes from Windsor. And they chose to use that degree to become teachers and to share that gift of education, because education is truly a gift and a precious one at that. We live in a world where very few will have the opportunity to ascertain the level of education that you receive here. We live in a world where more than 113 million children between 5 and 11 years of age have never once stepped foot into a classroom, never learned to read, never learned to write their own name, never learned that they have rights. A world where more than 210 million children labor away every single day, and a world where 300,000 children fight as soldiers in conflicts and wars. In our organization, Free the Children, we build educational institutions serving these children. And although we build the schools, we've learned the greatest lessons along the way from them. Once in Thailand, I was walking down the street with a group of Canadian volunteers, and a young street girl called out to us, and she motioned. She cupped her hands and touched her mouth. And it's a universal sign in developing countries when people are asking for food. And so we handed her an orange from our backpack and took a few more steps. But for some reason, we turned back and we watched as she held this orange in her hand, and she started to peel it, but more than peel it, she was tearing at it. She was tearing it apart because you could see how hungry she was in her eyes. And then she stopped when she looked at all the other kids who were on the street who were also staring at her. And she looked at this orange, and she looked back at these kids. And then she started to break it into tiny pieces and to share an equal piece with every child on the street until she had her sliver left that she sat down and she ate. And in that simple moment, that young street girl, no more than 8 or 9 years old, taught me more about compassion and sharing and lessons of life than I've ever learned. And so graduates, I ask, like that young street girl holding that orange in her hand, will you look around you both locally and globally? Will you open your eyes And will you open your heart? And will we share the gift that you've received? And we ask you to think, when holding that diploma in your hand, not only of what it can do for you, but what you can do with it for others. As you reach this milestone, it's an extraordinary moment to reflect on life and what's truly important, and the life as you go forward, how you'll measure and mark your success. Because is success just the size of a bank account? Is it the type of car that one drives? It's very tempting to finish university and to forget almost everything else learned except the basic formula of MBA equals BMW. But hopefully success is something more than that. Hopefully success is something more lasting. And I don't mean having a street named after you or a building that bears your initials. As the past 18 months of the financial crisis have shown us, companies come and go. Money, wealth comes and goes. But what's truly a legacy, I believe, is a living legacy. Every time a woman of color sits at the front of a bus, we see the legacy of Rosa Parks. Every time a woman runs for political office in this country, we see the legacy of the famous five. If you've been important in the life of a child, you've left an extraordinary legacy. If you brought meaning and purpose and joy to your family, you leave an extraordinary legacy. Think about it. Terry Fox's mother left an extraordinary legacy in this world, as did Nelson Mandela's father. I believe the true measure of success is living a life larger than ourselves. And the person who taught me that simple but profound message was one of the most extraordinary teachers of our time. An iconic image of hope and compassion, and a woman who I had the honor to work alongside in Calcutta before she passed away, Mother Teresa. And what struck me the most about working with Mother Teresa was she was a simple woman, a humble woman. She wasn't a president or prime minister. She wasn't the CEO of a company. She wasn't rich. She wasn't a movie star. She wasn't everything that we think we have to be if we want to accomplish change in this world. In fact, what most extraordinary about her, she was a tiny woman about that tall. But she had a big heart, and that's what made her such a powerful person. And as I was leaving the mother house on the last day, and I turned to her and I asked her the question I'd always wanted to ask her, and ask her, how do you do it? How do you work every single day with people around you who are suffering and who are dying, with the knowledge that you can't help every person? And she smiled at the question, and she shook her head. And she took my hands in hers, and she looked me in the eyes. And when Mother Teresa looked you in the eyes, you literally felt like she was looking into your soul. And she said the words, we have to realize in our lives we can do no great things, but we can do small things with great love. And so to the 2009 graduating class of the University of Windsor, congratulations on all that you've accomplished and the new opportunities to take action, however small, but with great love, and to truly change this world. Congratulations again, and my deepest thanks for this great honor. Thank you.